Welcome back to Painters Guild. I'm Will Friedle, and we are here once again with our wonderful special guest, an amazing teacher, Bryan Merlonghi, who is going to help us work on our abomination, which we started in our last episode. And if you remember, we worked on washes mostly last time. We got our mini here, which was already primed pink, which was a wonderful kind of priming color to go with. And we worked on the washes, learning many horrible phrases like,
I've just put wash in the cracks. You still want it in the crack, sucking it out of the crack. As I often explain to my classes.
Lots of stuff with cracks.
It's all about crack.
It was all about the crack, which really was kind of disconcerting. But at the end of the day, I ended up with this for my second ever attempt, which I was pretty darn happy with. But what are we going to be learning today?
So today's just level 1 highlights.
Okay.
Yep. And it's the next step for me in my process after I do a wash.
All right. Well, let's figure out what actual level 1 highlighting means. And we'll begin by rolling up our sleeves and getting started. Should have worn sleeves. I told you that before.
I did not get the memo. So now, first level highlights, I like to return to my base coat color.
Question, do I stick with my same brush?
You can. What I normally like to use is one that's slightly smaller.
Okay.
So a little bit smaller. So this is usually a highlight brush.
Okay.
Let's see. This is a detail brush. We'll use it.
I can use this one, you sure?
Oh, totally.
Well, now that's a big difference. We're still good to go.
So that actually is a wash brush. But because this character is so big, we can actually use it.
I can get away with the wash brush.
Oh, totally.
I don't need the tiny little detail brush.
No. So this is what we've got mixed here, and let me put this under here so you can see a little bit closer. So this right here is actually the base coat color.
Okay. And the original pink that we started with.
Very original. Same with the green, same with the brown, same with the tan, white, etc. So the wash, if you've noticed, will darken this all by almost a full shade.
Yeah, okay, that's pretty, yeah, can definitely see that it's done that.
Yeah, so you're
all of it too. The brown is darker, the tan is darker, the green is darker.
Yeah.
Everything has kind of picked up. Yep. It really absorbed the wash, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, so then when you return to your base coat color, you're going to get this dramatic pop.
Okay.
So what I do is I just take a little bit of the paint, and we've got it nice on this wet palette here. Taking some paint on the brush. A lot of the times what I like to do is a little technique. I like to just remove some of the paint in a way that it creates a tip for the paintbrush.
That's kind of cool.
You don't just like a ball of paint at the end of your brush. Add just a touch of water.
Oh, we're going back to the water technique.
A touch, just a dip. And water is a natural flow improver.
Okay.
So it just creates a little bit of flow.
Too many jokes.
Just a little.
Gotcha.
Just want to keep things moving.
Fair enough.
Moving easy.
Fair enough.
So
it is the Dulcolax of the painting world.
Water is the Dulcolax of the painting world.
Love it.
It is. So let's start on the back. He's got these nice, really pronounced muscles on the shoulder here.
I'm sorry, I'm going to lean over while you're doing this.
Oh yeah, you lean over, and then I'm just applying paint everywhere that's not a crack.
Everywhere that's not a crack.
Everywhere that's not a crack. Stay away from the crack.
So you go all the way up to the crack.
To the crack. Now you probably need a little bit more paint. So the more paint you have, the chunkier it's going to be, but the more opaque it will be. So a lot of the times when so the way you're painting this is a little bit lighter than a base coat. Base coat is kind of heavy.
Okay.
Because you want it.
Right. It's more coating everything.
It's coating everything and getting really deep. So with this particular one, it's just a little bit lighter, and you're just a little lighter with your brush. And that creates this nice feathery sort of flow.
Okay.
Right? And so that's perfect. Yeah.
Sweet.
That is perfect. So
now, are we doing that everywhere? Every muscle?
Every muscle that's pronounced, right?
Now, do I want to cover all the purples and everything? Because I've got some cool purple shading there. Do we want to cover that or no?
So this is a lot where actually just looking at the miniature will really benefit.
Right.
So if you look at the miniature, naturally the light will hit certain portions, right?
Right.
That's where you're applying your paint. And a lot of the times what I do is I'll have an overhead light like we've got here, and I'll just look at it and I see like right here, see how the light's hitting right there?
Yeah.
it will tell you, the light will actually tell you and show you where you need to put your color.
My light's not telling me anything.
They talk to me.
It's not talking to me
The
at all.
lights talk to me. So anywhere that you see a glare from the light,
Like that?
perfect. Couldn't be better.
So do you do every ab?
Every ab.
Wow.
Yep. I do every little muscle group.
I have so
Yes.
many. I have abs myself, so I know it's like kind
This
of
guy
tough.
only has like
It's kind of tough.
4.
Like the teeth that I learned with
Just
Mr. Mercer.
like exactly like the teeth. Dry brushing actually will do the exact same thing we're doing. It'll just do it in a little messier of a way.
Right. Okay.
Right? So what the dry brush will do is it'll hit the tops of everything, right? Which is a highlight, effectively.
Right.
This is actually manual highlighting. You're going in and you're using a brush and you're being strategic and surgical with
Gotcha.
your highlights. Right?
How do you do? What do you do with the hands and the wrist area? Do you touch any
So
of those?
okay, so the hands it's really fun. So if you look here, so sometimes I even use my. You might actually see painters with
Sure.
flicks
yeah,
of
yeah,
paint.
we've noticed that. Yeah.
Wherever you're always removing some paint because you want the less paint on your brush, the more strategic you can be. So with the fingers, this is a really cool trick. See this edge here? Mm-hmm. I don't have to use the point of my brush. I can actually just put paint on my brush and rake anywhere I see a hard edge. This actually is really useful, especially if you have trouble with your brush, your hand control. Just raking the brush over the edge will cover it in paint. So the exact same thing, it's the same philosophy of dry brushing. Dry brushing is a very barbaric way of doing that.
Okay.
Right? You're effectively rubbing paint over the edges of stuff. This is actually just a really sophisticated way of doing
Okay.
it. Right? So I'm just, again, rubbing
And do you do it on the front as well?
everywhere. Everywhere there's a hard edge. Yep, just like that. You don't actually have to use the point of the brush.
And you don't have to do any more
No.
than that either, dude.
Because sometimes when I'm teaching kids, they'll start shaking because they're like, oh, I have to use the point of my brush to get on the edge. Nope, just use the side of your brush. Side is a lot bigger. It's a lot easier. It's one quick motion. Now, if it's not a hard edge, you use your point. You
Okay.
Use the point. Yeah. So,
Now, what are you doing with the legs?
so the legs.
Are you doing each
So
muscle?
now
like
the
here?
legs, the legs are smooth, right? So there's
Right.
no real defined muscle groups. So what I like to do is I like to start at like a bony protuberance, right? Like a
knee joint
like a
or something.
knee, yeah. And so I do that. That's easy, right? Knees are super easy. And then I'll let the shadow sit. See how there's like a little bit of I want to disconnect the knee from the rest of the thigh.
Okay.
Right? And so I'll just leave just a little bit of that original purple in. And that creates the pop. So see how so here's the knee.
Yeah.
I create a space.
And then you kind of brought it up a little
Yep.
bit.
The entire part of highlighting is dark next to light. That is the entire
So like
thing.
that-ish?
Perfect. Couldn't be better. Yeah, and look at that. That looks really good. Yeah.
That's cool, right?
Right in there. Totally.
Sweet.
Yeah, nailing it.
Sweet.
Absolutely. And so you're just doing this throughout the entire figure. Effectively, you're repainting the figure. So this step will take a little bit longer because you want, for the most part, almost everything covered with the base coat color.
With the new stuff. What about
Exactly.
down here, like shin bone area?
Totally, yes.
Cover it.
Everywhere.
But do I
So-
do the same technique here where I leave a gap of purple?
Always leave a gap. Yeah, and when you're unsure, so a lot of advanced painters they will create shadows, etc. in this stage with the highlighting. You don't need to do that.
No, let's not get there.
Yeah.
Okay.
You just as long as there's a gap in between every nodule
Because
or bump.
what you
or
said, painting
whatever.
and highlighting is light against dark.
It's just everywhere you've got light,
It's light
immediately
against
surrounding it should be dark.
That you got.
That it's really just that
Light
simple.
against- Oh wait, there's a little weirdness right there. Can I fix that little weirdness?
Well, you can keep it, honestly.
Really?
Because,
Okay.
yeah, it's dead skin. Might as well. The most forgiving thing you could ever paint
Is dead skin.
Dead skin.
So then,
Yes.
really, zombies,
Yes.
anything, the undead, really a great way to learn technique.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's your mistakes are actually kind of highlighting the figure.
Yeah.
So again, we point out, do
Yeah.
zombies, do
Yeah.
dead skin, do.
You can never really mess up with the wash.
That's awesome.
Now, before I move on to next level highlights,
Yeah.
one last thing that you can use with a wash, since we've been talking about washes, is the shading with the wash strategically to bring out your highlights. I will strategically put wash in to areas, like a great example is right here. Like I'll put wash in, and look how much that does. Just that little bit.
Just one little dot.
Just one little dot. And look
Yeah.
at that shading now.
That's all. Well, do it on your own, dude.
I got
Can I
you
do it with
so
this?
into. You can do it with that. I got you so into painting that you've now taken.
Well, I
a
just
sense
got to
of-
make sure that I earn it.
You've
you know?
taken a sense of ownership.
I have.
Of
This
it,
is
and
mine.
that's like I'm so proud.
This
is a proud
absolute-
moment.
Heck yeah.
And really, the only thing that separates lower level painting from upper level painting is the number of times that you do this process and the subtlety that you're moving around the wash. And then you just do those two steps back and forth, highlight, wash, and eventually you get this really nice, almost as if you've airbrushed your figure effect.
Well, you do. There's one thing I've certainly noticed is that
Yeah.
there's definitely a depth to the layering when you're going back and forth and back and
Yes.
forth and back and forth. That's what you call the pop.
That is the pop,
Okay.
yeah. Although the next step I will show you is going to be a lot more pop. Hard highlighting is where you get the most pop. But the pop is what you're doing right now by bordering. So you're bordering a light with a dark, boom, everything pops out. Like you're nailing it right there. And see how it does.
It
really
brings, yep,
nice,
absolutely
subtle.
brings everything out.
Oh yeah, nailing it. Absolutely. All right.
Same brush?
Same brush. Yep.
Cleaned off.
Totally.
We don't need Mike's Hard Cleaning Supply Store Sergeant or whatever.
So, a bigger brush for me, I like a bigger brush, but that's because I've been doing it.
Wow.
Hard edge highlighting, you want a medium length brush,
Length or width?
length and width.
Because depending on who you talk to, both matter.
Both do, and the flow as well.
Okay. Well,
But we've got our flow improver, so it's
gotcha.
yeah,
Okay, so now I have a quick question here.
sure.
Now, you notice there are certain parts that are not as good as other parts are. Like, here's a perfect example.
Right.
I mean, check this out here.
We won't say you messed up.
But I messed up. I mean, I did.
But you
You can
messed up.
definitely see. So I could go back and fix it.
Okay.
You know, I could go back and do the wash again and do everything you kind of talked about. But is there a way, like a shorthand, to kind of maybe use this to my advantage?
Oh, totally. Yeah, when you're doing dead skin especially, which is, again, another reason why it's awesome to start out with something dead, zombie, whatever, is you can actually make your mistakes into effects.
Okay. Well, good.
You
Let's.
can legitimately turn them
I
into
love that.
special effects. So I like to use yellow, but any kind of yellow, it really doesn't matter. The more true yellow, the better.
Okay.
This is a little bit of a cream colored yellow, but it'll work great. And what you do, just put a little bit out, and then we're gonna almost create a wash,
Like a tiny bit?
a tiny bit,
Okay.
and then add quite a bit of water.
Quite a bit of water.
Yeah, so you want just a very little bit, and you can test it on your cup here. So I've gotten water, and then I'm testing it, and if it's like a watercolor,
Like
that's
that?
what you want. A little too thick.
Too thick.
So you want it almost like a pastel-y watercolor. It's creatively applying it to your mistakes area. So let me find one.
I love how you have to
can't
search.
find one.
Let me find a mistake area.
So right under the bicep here, there's a little area, and I just like to add a little bit of a yellow to it. You drop the water droplet on, and then dry your brush, and then just move it around so it's faintly visible. So you're almost wicking it away, right? Almost wicking it away, but you're leaving just a little bit. So let's take a look. Let's see what you're doing here.
I wicked it away, but I might have wicked it away.
You
too
wicked
much.
all of it.
Damn
yeah.
it.
And that's the just playing. So remix.
Finding. Remix.
Remix.
All right, so
Remix.
finding that.
Yeah. It's that happy.
Sweet
It's that
spot.
sweet spot.
Find
And you
that
know what?
sweet
If you
spot.
want to add more than you would think, when it's your first time, you can go ahead and add a little bit more. And actually, if you add more inside of, oh, see now that's perfect. And then dry your brush and just wick just a little bit here or there. And this is, like I said, there is a technique in that there's not a technique. So you want to be purposefully sort of disjoint, wicking it out of here or out of there so that it just looks mottled. And the more mottled, the better. And these different colors, these different effects will cover up your mistakes. And that's the beautiful part about dead skin is that
I know what you mean by it, but if you just tuned in, the greatest part about dead skin isn't the taste, folks.
It's not the taste. That it's not. Is the cool effects that you can do with yellow. The other thing you can do if you have blood for the blood god, GW makes blood for the blood god, or any kind of realistic blood, cover up mistakes with blood. That's another, if you really don't want to go back and wash and then rebase coat, whatever.
Right.
I either use blood, there's a slime too, I think it's called Nurgle's Rot. You can use slime.
Nurgle's Rot?
Nurgle's Rot.
Sounds like
really
you're
cool.
The neighbor on Fraggle Rock.
Yeah.
Sweet. So now that's fixing mistakes. What's next? I think we're going to wrap this figure up. So
yeah.
How do we put this one in the books?
So the very last step is hard edge highlighting. And this is just another level 1 highlight that you do on edges.
Same brush?
Same brush, yep.
Okay.
Your highlight brush. Yep, that's your highlight brush. And you're going to get generally what I like to do is, for a hard edge highlight, I'm going to mix my original color.
The original brown.
The original brown with a touch of white. Just a touch.
Geez, now we're mixing.
So, just a touch. You don't have to, but it makes a little bit of difference. So then you can test your color on your cap or whatever and you're kind of just eyeballing it. I think that's good. And then you're taking the side of your brush.
Side of my brush.
Yep. And you're raking it along any hard edge where there's brown. Now, the more the color is brighter than your original color, the more pop you'll get.
Sure.
The more subtle you'll get. So I'm gonna demonstrate under here. So the technique is, if you're really adept with a paintbrush, you can actually use the tip of your paintbrush, no problem. But if you have trouble with that, you actually just rake the side of your brush. You hold it horizontally and rake it across an edge. Same kind of concept as dry brushing, except on a more subtle scale. And you're just everywhere there is an edge. As you get more adept at painting,
it becomes more and more subtle.
Yeah, it'll just get more and more subtle. I'm psyched. This is watching you progress is.
It's fun. It's certainly fun.
Yeah, this is really cool. Let's see, nailing it.
Yeah,
totally.
Just trying to kind of hit it a little.
Totally.
Give it a little bit of.
Totally.
What we call pizzop.
You got it. And that's all it is adding pop.
Cool.
And you would do, so on this figure, you would do the exact same thing with the green. You do the same thing with the tan. You just choose different colors. You would highlight the green with progressively white, adding white.
You put way lighter brown on there, though, than I did.
I did because I really wanted to, you were actually doing better. You're more subtle. So you could actually do highlight level 2, which is even.
I just wanted to jump right to level 2 and make it real subtle.
You literally jumped to level 2.
I didn't need to just
you were
start
like,
with that.
We're going to leave Bryan at level 1.
Yeah, I figured. It's like, thanks for the help, Bri, but boom, level 2.
Level 2.
That's kind of what I figured.
Game over.
That's what I figured.
It's a 2-level game. That's it. But you could go crazy and add 4, 5, 6 different levels of highlights, but I generally only do 2 or 3.
Really?
2 or 3.
Because you can paint a figure for too long, can't you?
You can, yeah.
It's
and
like,
then you look at it
doing
and
the same figure for 9 months. It's time to move on.
Yeah, like one I did for 10 years.
What?
And I feel like I'm just.
You
kidding.
painted what? I was gonna say,
jeez. I'm just
eat some
actually.
cat
You know
litter.
what? I did. It's this one. This one. I told you. This one took me
It
4
took you
months.
10 years.
This figure took me 10 years to paint. It was the eyes that I really wanted to get more realistic, and they took me forever.
I love that. I'm doing a little bit.
But he turned out. I'm gonna leave him here. He's my spirit animal.
Green.
That figure's my spirit animal.
That's good. All right, I'm gonna need you to critique now.
Yes.
Tell me what you think and what we're doing.
Okay. All right. So, it's
Keep
hard
in mind,
to tell.
this is only the second mini I've done, and I have asthma.
This
don't.
is a success story.
Okay.
By default.
Okay, good.
By default.
I'm Rudy.
You're Rudy. This is Rudy.
Sweet.
We've been filming Rudy. So I absolutely love it. What you're kind of seeing is first we did the purple.
Yeah.
So we did the highlight 1, which is covering over all of the kind of bony protuberances with the original base coat color. And as you can see, the only difference between mine and yours is I added just a little bit more
Detail. Talent. I'm with you. It just looks nicer.
It does.
Nicer. Well, I'm learning. I'm learning.
But effectively, the only difference truly is I added just a little more wash, and I wicked it away with a couple more years of experience.
Okay.
That's it.
All right.
That's the only difference. Then we moved to making our mistakes not mistakes anymore with the yellow. So actually, we both messed up the same spot. So that's really cool.
Then let's blame the figure.
So I am all about the blame game.
Okay, good.
I feel like that, yeah, that's good. So this yellow here, that was mine, and this is yours.
I think everyone knows that, Brian.
That looks, I just wanted to reiterate.
I think everyone knows that.
No, it's great. Now, if we used, so it ended up mixing with the pink, and it kind of looks a little bit like a flesh tone. So the only critique I would say is next time, this is the yellow that we were using, maybe a more true yellow.
Okay. So good, we can blame the paint.
We'll blame the paint. Anything we can do to blame anything else. And then we moved on to final hard edge highlights.
That I'm still working on.
Yeah, and so when you're going from dry brushing, which is hard edge highlights, but easy.
Right.
It's like the wash of highlights.
Right. Okay. Right.
You're gonna it's gonna look dirty and it's whatever. The biggest key with hard edge highlights by hand is just your hand control.
Okay.
And it's just getting better. And honestly, there's no better way than painting on a top or painting on something, and two, just painting.
Yeah, it's practice.
It's just practice.
Everything is practice.
And I have seen people that actually have shaking hands do it for a month, and they're fine.
Yeah.
They can do it.
Well, there's no shortcut to actual practice.
There is not.
You just got to do it.
Unfortunately. And then the other really good part, I'm going to use the paintbrush to point, is you actually started, I didn't even ask you, but you started to highlight the green.
Yeah. I was hard edge
highlighting the green, and you nailed it.
Sweet.
And then I actually messed up your figure.
You did, I noticed that.
I put these white marks, and I messed it up.
Yeah, you did.
I did that.
Thanks. We loved having you here.
Thank you. That's my contribution. This is a hardy canvas.
How do you spell your last name?
Merlonghi.
How do you spell it? How do you spell your last name? Merlonghi. So thank you so much to our very special guest, Mr. Bryan Merlonghi, who apparently spells his last name Merlonghi. Interesting. When ask a stupid question. But I definitely want to thank you so much. Thank you for giving me my newest stripe, for teaching me all the new techniques. Yep. I'm very, very happy with this. I think a couple of things we've learned is a lot of it is technique. A lot of it is just practice. And I certainly need a heck of a lot more work. But we're on the journey. That was the plan. We're trying to progress every week if we can. We're getting there, and we're doing everything we can. Again, thanks so much, Brian.
Thank you, Will.
Appreciate you coming by.
This was awesome.
And remember, every great masterpiece starts with a single brushstroke.